Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my corner of the multiverse yet again. So here we are, for those of you that can see the video of this podcast, you'll see that I'm wearing zero makeup and one of my favorite Buffalo Bills t-shirts, because today we're going to talk about resilience, and we're going to talk about something that has been in the forefront of my life in recent months. I've had a group of individuals who have given up and chosen suicide as their answer to their problem. So I want to discuss this, and I figured the best way to do that was to just be raw and real and authentic and natural. So no bullshit. Some lighting just so that you can see my face. But mostly just so that you can really hear the truth of what I'm about to lay on you. So the onus for this podcast this week, this episode, it was supposed to be about menopause, actually. We were supposed to do our third install on menopause, but a friend of mine by the name of Jonathon Feit, who is the CEO of Beyond Lucid Technologies, has posted a few things on LinkedIn and a few other things on Facebook. And his goal and his promise is that for first responders of all levels, whether you're law enforcement, you're EMS, whether you're fire, whether you are military, whether you're a nurse or a physician, his goal, his vow, is that he will not stop until we have a suicide level 0. So this is hats off to you, Jonathon, for bringing into the forefront something that we have basically sent into the shadows for many, many years, because no one is comfortable talking about it. No one is comfortable dragging this bitch out into the open and saying, we need to do so much more, and we need to do so much better for those, that 1%, who write that blank check to their community, to their nation, and not just turn a blind eye and blame it on anything and everything else. So today, we're going to talk about resilience, suicide, giving up, ego, and all the bullshit that goes with it, so that we can drag this out further into the light, beat it to death, and do exactly what Jonathon hopes we will do, which is turn suicide into a nightmarish memory and something that in the future, the very near future, no other family has to deal with the stigma, the pain, and no individual who has thought that suicide was the answer will ever choose it again. Because suicide is a permanent measure for temporary discomfort. I promise you. So I'm here to honor your promise, Jonathon, and hold you to it. And I'll do everything that I can in my power to assist you in making this a reality, because that's what I'm all about. Because y'all know I'm salty for a reason. So I'm going to lay out the salt for you today. Now, this is a difficult topic to discuss because I don't believe that I know a single family of first responders that have not been touched by suicide, whether it's professionally or personally, or even, dare I say, they've thought of it themselves. Yeah, I'm pretty sure every single one of you, the 1% that volunteer to do what we do, have thought of it at one point or another. This is not a TED Talk, and this is not a Hallmark movie. This is reality. And this is how I see it. So I ask all of you, if you disagree, if you agree, if you have a different perspective, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Maybe you'd like to come on the podcast and we can have some banter, have some conversation. Maybe you would just like to give me your opinion on the matter. All right. But today, I'm going to tell you suicide is not a weakness. Substance use disorder is not a weakness. And I'm so over hearing people lay it out like that because you're so strong and you can handle anything. Yeah, well, I got to tell you something. That's not true for everybody. It's just not. So, what makes me the pro or the, person that knows all about resilience? Well, first of all, hold up, everybody. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I know about disappointment. I know about defeat. I lived it. I've been watching football and they've been my team since the 1980s. Yup, I'm that old. So old, in fact, that this past weekend, I was wearing my Bills jersey with the name Ferguson on the back and the number 12. And some kid said to his dad, "Do you think your last name is Ferguson?" No, bitch, it ain't. Joe Ferguson was the quarterback when I first started watching football. That's how old I am. That's how old I am. So, if the Bills can have a comeback in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes to go, and they beat the Ravens, and the Ravens were no slouches last night, friends, okay? I don't know about you. I watched the game. I was up all night. I couldn't go to sleep after that game. I don't think I fell asleep until 02:30 this morning. And at 7 a.m., after I put the grandkids on the bus, I was watching the highlight reels. Gave me a bloody nose and everything. I was so worked up. Not really sure if that's what gave me the bloody nose or not. Listen, we understand resilience. 4 lost Super Bowls, wide right. 13 seconds versus the Chiefs. The Bills Mafia has a PhD in heartbreak and a master's in getting back up and being stubborn. Right? If we fans can keep showing up after everything that we've been through, we understand comeback energy. Okay? Let me explain to you my thoughts on resilience. Okay? I am all that in a bag of chips. I am the salty goddess, and Margaret Perry. That is without a doubt. I am confident in who I am. But I am also confident that I am no stronger than the energy that binds galaxies, that explodes and bursts forth life upon planets. I'm part of that energy, but I am not in control of that energy. And I understand that everything that has a beginning has an end. Now, did I always believe that? Did I always understand that? Some of you may call this energy God, Allah, Jehovah, whatever. I don't care what you call it. You can call it the multiverse, the universe, the goddess, the goddesses. It doesn't matter to me what you call it, okay? But that energy, we are a part of it. And what is the second rule of thermodynamics? Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. So that means that is my understanding that whatever happens in the multiverse takes place for whatever reason, because everything that has a beginning has an end. Spring rolls around and it turns into summer. Summer comes, summer goes, autumn arrives, winter arrives. The trees that were budding in the spring become dormant, and this is cyclic. We are not going to live forever. That's a guarantee. We will not live forever. So, if we have zero control over how long we live, how long anything lives on this planet, then as providers of healthcare, of safety, okay, what makes us think we have the power to keep someone else alive beyond their determined lifespan? Do we do our best? Yes, we do. We try to educate. We try to intervene. When accidents happen, we try to stop the injury. That is accurate. And that's part of what makes us amazingly human. But to feel injured when we've given our best, given our all, worked with all the tools at our disposal, and yet the patient was unable to respond to our treatment plan. We must understand that it is the way it is meant to be. And not take it personally, not take it to heart. Who do you think you are? You think you're that goddess of power? You're not. You think you know better than the multiverse does? You don't, and I don't. So understand that it is our ego that injures us when our expectation is that every time we intervene on behalf of that patient, it's going to be a positive outcome. I promise you it won't be. And how silly of us to think that we should be able to control that. We can't. Not any more than we can control being conceived. That's not even up to us. So if we can't even control our own entry into this multiverse, who the hell do we think we are? So you have to put ego aside. And instead of ego, use competence as your measure. It's not, were you successful in reviving this patient, in saving this individual's life? We don't save anybody. We delay the inevitable. And that's okay. It's okay to delay the inevitable. It's okay to say that. But we don't save anybody. So the measure shouldn't be whether or not a life was saved, because that's ego. The measure should be, did I do everything within my power to the best of my ability with all of the education and tools at my disposal? If I did all of those things and the patient failed to respond to your treatment, it is out of your hands. That is a level of resilience that has allowed me to stay within the healthcare field for over 30 years. Because while I understand my education and my tools can assist in delaying the inevitable, I myself do not have the power. Because remember, those tools and that knowledge were gifted to me from others. Others who taught me, people like Peter, or my dad, James, or my siblings, my children, my grandchildren. Medicine was taught to me by every instructor whose class I ever sat in, every lecture I've ever listened to, every con ed that I've ever taken. And it is my understanding of my place within this existence that those are gifts. Therefore, I don't believe that it's on me, beyond my training, my knowledge, my understanding, and my tools to control what is going to happen. So when you hear me say, commit to your craft, and I'm here to help you create confidence in your competence, that is the measure by which you determine whether or not you are successful. That builds resilience to understand that you are here to witness life, death, and everything in between. And that is the greatest honor you can give anyone, is to remember the lessons that they've taught. So we talk about resilience and it being so important to providers, to law enforcement, to fire, to military. The truth is, resilience is important for each and every single one of us and our existence. So I'm going to walk you back a few. I'm going to talk about a couple things. I'm going to walk us back because I do have 6 children. And I remember raising my children and thinking, I want their life easier than my life was. I want them to not struggle for anything. But it is in the struggle that they earn the tools for their toolbox to be successful and to maneuver through life, to navigate obstacles and barriers. And without obstacles and barriers, they cannot build skill and they cannot build resilience. So when we remove those obstacles from an early age for children, we screw them over. We screw them over because they will never develop the same skills and tools that are needed to survive and to navigate and to have resilience. Now, listen, I do not ascribe to this bullshit either. Oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and it'll all work out. No. We model the tools we want to see our children develop. So the car gets a flat tire on the way somewhere, you pull off, you get out, you're like, wow, this really sucks big time. But guess what? It's not the end of the world because I planned properly. I have a spare. I know my vehicle. I know how to change this tire. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to learn to change your tire, make sure you have some service that'll come and change your tire for you. Okay? You change the tire. Maybe while you're changing that tire, if it's safe for your children to be outside of the vehicle, you bring them out and show them. You show them that barriers and obstacles are not the end of the fight. You don't just give up. Where the hell would we all be? And we teach them. Yeah, sometimes shit happens. Yeah. Sometimes, damn it, it happens at the worst possible times. And it sucks. You lose your job. You fail a class. You fail an exam. It is not the end of the world. You go back. You study twice as hard. You retake the test. You retake the class. And you learn. It's not the end of the road. So, I say to you, parents, here's your challenge. Here is your challenge. You must allow those barriers and those battles to exist. When you watch kits in the wild, right? Cougars and let's see, cougars, lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. Their parents let them horseplay and play fight and do all the things because those are skills they're going to need to hunt their prey. Now, we're fortunate. We don't have to hunt our prey anymore. We get to go to the grocery store. But guess what? You got to get a job to earn the cash to go to the grocery store. That is still a skill that is required to put food on the table. So while the prey and the hunt might look different for us than it does for coyotes and wolves and raccoons, okay? It's the same theory. Now, does that mean that the minute that your child is, a toddler, 3 years old, you're going to start teaching them this kind of stuff? No, children should be allowed to be children. But we need to teach them to build resilience, to let them know that structure is okay, to let them know that there are going to be limiters at times. And eventually they'll, collect the tools that are needed to go beyond those limits. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is your 12-year-old shouldn't be up until fucking 2 a.m. on a school night. That's what I mean. Okay? Your children should be eating nutritious food and not given choices to eat Skittles for lunch instead of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever the hell else you're going to feed them. Do you get? That's what I'm talking about. It's a little common sense, my friends. And I understand that it's not a flower that grows in everybody's garden. But I think it's time we all start some better shit for our gardens, okay, to fertilize it with, because some big mistakes are being made. That being said, resilience in every aspect of the word is necessary for everyday life, not just the 1% that become military individuals, law enforcement, fire, and EMS, nurses, physicians, nurse practitioners, physicians associates, so on and so forth. Friends, we're doing our children a disservice, and it's sad to me to see this happening. And I'm going to tell you something. This didn't I wasn't 18 years old and I knew all this shit. I had to learn just like everybody else did. Okay? I will tell you something. I was 23 when I passed my EMT exam. And yeah, back then, friends, yes, it was that long ago, I had to wait for the postman to deliver a thick envelope. In that envelope was on cardstock the results of your exam in each section, printed, by the way, and your card. Now, I'm telling you, I could barely hold my breath. I mean, back then it took like 6 weeks after you took your exam to get your results. And yes, back then we took our tests on those little bubble sheets, filled in all the little bubbles. Okay. So when that postman came and I opened that envelope, I remember opening it and I swear like something flittered out and onto the floor, and I opened it to look at my score and I received a 93. And I was disappointed because it wasn't 100. But I still passed. I still had my card. And I was still proud of the accomplishment. Nope, it wasn't 100. And truthfully, I never got 100 on my certifying exams. But I still passed. Now, what I thought fell out of that envelope was my cape. Because I believed at the age of 23, every call that I was going to go on, I was going to save a life. Every call I was going to go on was going to be life or death. Every call I was going to be the hero. I have a surprise for you. That wasn't the case. And every day for the first 18 months of my EMS career, I literally had an existential crisis. Because what I thought I knew, I didn't know at all. And honestly, it's my dad's fault. So thank you, Dad. I appreciate the sheltering that you provided, but I also rue the blind side I received as I was educated about life, humanity, depravity, and straight up screwed upness that I ended up seeing for the next 18 months because I had no clue, at the age of 23, that this kind of shit went on. It was crazy to me. I was gobstopped at the things that I was seeing. So, I mean, the cape, it was, it wasn't like, a shield or anything like that. But I'll tell you that card in my eyes when I first got it, that EMT card, like had more magic in it and stardust than my driver's license ever did. So my dad shielded me from raw human pain for a long time, for as long as he possibly could. 6 months in, working inner city 911 EMS, that cape was bloodied and torn by reality. I saw poverty and violence, neglect, and all of humanity in its raw, unfiltered form. So, resilience, while I had it, let me tell you something, it was still a shock. It was still a shock. So, that cape didn't make me bulletproof, but it did give me a front row seat to carnage. And that is when I realized, holy crap, my dad's right. We're all stardust. We're all pieces and parts of one another. We're all part of the same beginning. But holy crap, we have almost zero control as we hurtle through this galaxy. So in the meantime, what has happened? Well, some of us sit on our high horses and judge others. Some of us get petty and bitchy and think that, life sucks and it shouldn't be this way. And then they lash out at other people. But I will tell you that it is our ego in believing that we have any control over this that causes a lot of our existential crisis and our inability to remain resilient. So that's what we need to build. And something else came up this week too. I've been seeing a lot more of it. People talking about substance use disorder or addiction, okay? And claiming that, addiction or substance use disorder is, because that's really what it is a choice. Okay. It might be a choice, but I'm going to tell you that trauma and unresolved trauma causes emotional pain, soul-crushing pain for many people. Okay? Understand that things like drugs and alcohol are a survival strategy for some individuals because it numbs that pain of the trauma that's not resolved. But as each week, month, and day goes by, more of that drug, that alcohol, or that substance is required to numb them, to allow them to escape from the reality of the pain that they suffer. And research has shown that when we resolve the trauma, substance use disorder, or addiction, as others like to call it, reduces. Does that mean it'll disappear forever? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that while everything's on an even keel, this individual is able to manage their trauma, their emotions, their reality, their pain. However, if something traumatic happens again, it can cause them to slip back. So while everyone's looking down their nose at someone who may have started out on an opiate pain pill and realized after their surgery, hey, you know what? This numbs me and I don't feel that pain from this event or that event or this thing. I'm just going to keep taking it so I can escape because that helps me sleep. That helps me manage my life better. I can get away from that discomfort. Friends, it's no different than the 3 or 4 or 10 or 12 beers you drink every fucking day when you get home from work so that you can relax from your stressful day. It's no different than the cigarettes you smoke, the coffee you drink, the chew that you use. Research shows there's no such thing as addictive behavior. All of our brains are wired that way. Who wants to feel pain? Most people do not. The large percentage of the population does not like emotional pain. It's why individuals die from broken heart syndrome after a loved one dies. Because emotional pain is damaging. Trauma is damaging. And I'm not talking about motor vehicle collision trauma. I'm talking about emotional trauma, abandonment, betrayal. Okay? Physical trauma, like sexual assault, physical abuse, psychological abuse. All you parents who think you're doing a great old job alienating other parents from their children, the other parent, all right? All of your snide-ass comments, your petty-ass behavior in the workplace even. You get a bug up your ass because somebody does something and you take it personal, so then your only goal is to destroy someone's reputation, someone's ability to earn an income because your feelings got hurt. Grow up and call it what it is. So, it is important to understand ego interferes with your ability to build resilience because not only it won't let you admit that you're struggling, it won't let you admit that you're not all powerful. It convinces you that if you need to ask someone for assistance, that that's a weakness. It's not. I will tell you the strongest things you will ever do is ask for assistance, say that you do not understand, you don't know, and you need either education or clarification. Those are the strongest things you'll ever do, is to ask for assistance and admit that you need that you need an education or clarification. So that ego fuels frustration and burnout, and you are not living your authentic self. Just remember that. Authenticity and ego do not belong together in the same purview. They cannot exist together. They can't. Ego is the asshole coach who benches you when you're bleeding because they refuse to call a timeout because calling a timeout is weak. Ego keeps us from reaching a level of resilience that protects us. Okay? Don't think I haven't been there. I've lost more colleagues than I care to admit, than I want to admit, from substance use disorder and suicide. I've lost family members. I've not met family members who have committed suicide or have succumbed to substance use disorder before I was even born. All because they didn't build resilience. Sometimes resilience is staying alive for someone else until you can stay alive for yourself. And that's okay too. All right? When the pain is too much, that's what it is. So, resilience, it's not pretty and it's not polished. It's feral, it's salty, and it's raw. And sometimes our only anchors are family, our love of another person, legacy, sheer stubbornness, or even just spite. I refuse to give up. I'm not going to let this get me. Okay? Sorry, my phone's going off. Oh my goodness. Right? So resilience isn't noble. It's survival with bite marks. Okay. It is sometimes the strongest thing you do is to just not give in today. Okay. Survival can be the pettiest middle finger you're going to give to your trauma and say, I will gain the tools to navigate this no matter what. Sometimes that's what you need to do. So today, I honor you, Jonathon, for your call to action and your promise to bring suicide out into the light and work your damnedest to get level 0. Level 0 suicidality. I want you all to talk and share, and don't let trauma fester under someone else's egotistical bullshit. And I'm going to tell you, if the Bills can come back like they did last night against the Ravens, you can come back from your own fourth quarter fuck up. I promise you that. Don't let anyone else hold you to a chapter that is 3 volumes old. Because I promise you, every single person on this planet has a chapter they wouldn't want other people to read. And anyone who tells you different is a lying sack of shit. Got it? Now, I know I went over my 30 minutes. I like to keep this at 30 minutes because that's about how long y'all have to commute. You all know my telephone number, and you all know my phone never gets shut off. If you are struggling, make a phone call. Reach out. If someone doesn't answer you, promise yourself you'll wait till morning before you make a decision. Because every decision that you make has consequences. Every single one of them. And you are entitled, you are allowed to make mistakes. But if the mistake that you make is a permanent mistake for a temporary condition, you can't come back from that. So, I want to hear from all of you. Jonathon, I hope I hear from you. I have a feeling I will, though. Don't let anybody else tell you your value or what you should be doing. You build that resilience day after day after day. And if you trip and fall, okay. I could show you. I walk into cabinet doors and whack my leg on the corner of the desk all the time. Bumps and bruises are part of the journey, my friends. And without rain, would the sunshine feel so warm or be so brilliant? It wouldn't. Life is a roller coaster ride. Hold on tight. It's going to get better from here. This is the Salty Goddess Podcast. I'm Margaret Perry. I appreciate you all joining me for your guilty pleasure on Hump Day. Reach out. I want to hear what you've got to say. Subscribe, follow, and share, and especially share if you feel someone needs to hear this message. See you next week.